Hi everybody, Jillian here for Illustrated Faith, and today I have a brand new Bible journaling process video for you using the Wildflower Devotional Kit. So today I'm going to be journaling in session 1, and I'm going to be answering the question that Bailey asks us: what areas do you want to grow with God? So since my answer to that question is obedience, I'm going to be journaling in Romans 6, but more on that in a minute. First, I want to explain what I'm doing here. So you can see I've got some neocolor water-soluble wax pastels over to the right, and I'm going to use those on this beautiful floral stamp that's included with the kit. You may notice that half of my stamp is black. That's because I've used Stazon ink with it, and it stained my stamp. No big deal. You can see that none of that black ink is going to transfer onto my page. So what I'm doing is I just put a bunch of water onto the stamp with a paintbrush, and then I colored over it with the crayon, and then I'm going to stamp it down in a few places. And I'm not going to be careful to like recolor it or anything. When I stamp it the second time, I just rotate it a little bit and then stamp it down again. The impression is not perfect, and that's totally okay. So the first color I went in with was sky blue. And then I'm just going to go ahead and wipe this off with a baby wipe. See, so no black ink is on there. Then what I'm going to do is take a damp baby wipe and just wipe off some of the color from this next neocolor. This is turquoise green. And I'm going to dab it on the page, like as if I was blending it onto the page. So the wet baby wipe is perfect for this because there's not a ton of moisture. You're not really going to the page isn't going to buckle, it's not going to deteriorate or anything like that. So I'm just getting a ton of pigment onto this baby wipe and then dabbing it on the page and trying to blend out the edges. It would be really fun to blend different neocolors together like that. For the second impression, I decided not to use this teeny tiny paintbrush to wet the stamp. Instead, I just dunked my fingers in my jar of water, put it onto the stamp. This gives better control of how much water you add. You don't want to add a ton, otherwise you're not going to get those details of the branches and florals and things like that. And then I wanted to hit the turquoise portion with my heat tool to make sure that it was totally dry, because I wasn't sure how two wet neocolors would act when they touched each other. So I'm going to go ahead and put my Bible mat under there and then re-wet this guy a little bit to make sure that the pigment is moving around. It's just trial and error. I mean, I tried this a few times on a scratched piece of paper and thought, oh man, this is really pretty, before I put it on my Bible page. And it didn't even turn out just like my practice tries on my Bible page. So just kind of, take it easy, be flexible, and have fun. So I really liked the way that the darker indigo blue popped off of the turquoise. And I'm going to move on to my next layer here. I'm using one of these stickers as a layering piece, and I wanted to trim off some of the white excess around the page. Oh boy. So I feel like these videos lately have become also like lessons in what not to do, or maybe just a heads up, this works this way, so be careful that you don't necessarily do it the same way. Anyway, I'm trying to trim off some of the white border on this sticker. It's very sticky. I put it on the back of my hand to try and break down the adhesive a little bit, and then you could see that it tore in half, which isn't a big deal. It was a really clean tear. So I'm just fighting this thing, trying to trim off the white border, which in the end isn't even really that big of a deal. So what I decide to do is instead put it on a piece of scrap cardstock that I have so that I don't tear it anymore, because it did tear a little bit more. I'm just putting it down on the paper, and then I'm going to fussy cut it out once it's on the white cardstock. If I had non-stick scissors, this probably would have worked a little bit better. But I'm happy at least to show you, to give you a heads up, like, hey, this could happen if you try this. Okay, so now I've got that guy cut out, and I'm going to plan on layering him behind the circle that's included in the stamp set. I want to make that the title of my page, so I'm going to use a chalk ink that was included in one of the Ink Crush sets, I think from the Confetti kit, and the colors just match so beautifully to this kit. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that down on some white cardstock, get all that excess ink off with a baby wipe, and then go ahead and cut this guy out. Alright, here we go. I hit the circle with my heat tool a little bit to help that chalk ink set so that my fingers wouldn't smudge the ink around. And then I'm going to go ahead and just tape this guy down to the floral piece, and then use the tiny attacher to help reinforce it a little bit. I knew I wanted to layer these beautiful black and white floral acetate pieces on the page and then the sticker. And I'm showing you here, there are a couple options, actually even more than this, to get these guys down. You could use a tape runner like I'm doing here, and I'm putting the tape in a discrete place that I know is going to get covered up by this floral sticker circle piece now. You could also use a little stapler like that tiny attacher I showed you. If you have a sticker maker, you could use that, a glue stick, whatever you have is going to work. Next, I'm going to add a tab to the top, and I don't really want to bring in much pink here. So I'm going to use this beautiful floral tab that has the blues and the aqua and even a little bit of the yellow, and just place that down at the top. This month, the stickers or the tabs don't have that perforation along the top to guide us to know where to fold it in half, which you can see isn't really a problem. I was able to do it pretty easily here. And then I'm going to add one of the little word-fetty pieces there, Wild Surrender, to the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp my title down. So I'm going to use this word Wild from the stamp set in some Stazon Jet Black ink, and I'm going to stamp this into the cardstock circle that's there. And there we go. So fun. Look at how it's all coming together. Then I'm going to just handwrite in the rest of my title, and I'm going to include one more floral stamp on there. And my title is going to be Wild Obedience to God. When Bailey asks us what we want to grow with him, I really want to grow instant obedience, quick obedience, right? Instead of kind of hemming and hawing, maybe even trying my way first to see if that works. Instead, I just initially want to be obedient to God. I want to be walking in the Spirit instead of in my own, like, fleshy nature, right? I'll just start in verse 16. Paul says, "Don't you know that when you offer yourselves to someone as obedient slaves, you are slaves of the one you obey, whether you are slaves to sin, which leads to death, or to obedience, which leads to righteousness? But thanks be to God that though you used to be slaves to sin, you have come to obey from your heart the pattern of teaching that has now claimed your allegiance. You have been set free from sin and have become slaves to righteousness." And then I love down at towards the bottom in verse 21, he asks, and it's so true, isn't it? "What benefit did you reap at the time from the things you are now ashamed of? Those things result in death." So my journaling here is just a couple bullet points that one author makes in a book. And he says, obedience to God proves our love for him. It demonstrates our faithfulness to him. It glorifies him in the world, and it opens up avenues of blessing for us. So as if I needed any more reason to be instantly obedient or quick to obedience to God, this is just all the more reason, right? So I've got my journaling done, and then I'm going to look to my date stamp, and this is the Illustrated Faith Date It Roller Date Stamp, and I'm going to switch the dial to that word remember and then use today's date, because I definitely want to remember this. I'll show you guys in a minute the backside of this page, and you can see that with these neocolors, there is really no bleed through. There's a little bit of purple something up at the top, but wow, I was really shocked to see that none of this color made it through to the other side. Then I'm going to add some word-fetty to the bottom, and I'm just going to select these two words to make the phrase "commit yourself." So I'm starting to pack up my supplies and clean my desk up, and then thinking maybe I can just add one more thing to the bottom underneath that word-fetty. So I've got the digitals from the kit, and I'm going to take this one piece that's supposed to be a tab, but I ended up printing this on clear sticker paper. So I'm just going to like fussy cut the florals from this tab and then layer it under the word Fetty, just to bring a little more color down to the bottom, a little pop of yellow down to the bottom. So there we go, layers on layers on layers of florals. This was just so fun to create. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to walk through the Wildflower Devotional Kit with us, it's linked in the video description below the video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you soon.